Hey guys, welcome back to Sonic Tales 1850. Today we'll be talking about Fortnite, and more specifically, the Fortnite storyline. As you see this little orb, yeah, that's the most important object in the Fortnite storyline. So you guys know about the Big Bang? Well, in this version of in the Fortnite storyline, it was created by an orb of energy called the 0 Point in the Fortnite world. And the 0 Point is tethered to every single in the Fortnite multiverse. And because of that, bad guys have been trying to take control of the 0 Point for a long time, but it found a way to defend itself. In the first reality it created, Reality Zero, it created a massive island that has two halves and has a loop. The loop is basically Battle Royale. And if someone gets caught in the loop, the loop erases their memory, stops them from speaking, and makes them fight each other every 22 minutes until it resets. There is a way of escaping the loop, but the 0 Point mostly made the loop for a protection. But this didn't stop someone from getting their hands on the 0 Point. This is Geno. Geno was originally the king of his own kingdom called the Oathbound, but then that all changed when he found out the 0 Point existed. Eventually, Geno left the Oathbound and created his own organization called the Imagine Order. And he left his snapshot, the Ageless, to rule his kingdom while he was busy taking over other realities. Also, if someone escapes the loop, then a snapshot of them stays behind in a loop. It's basically a clone of them. And I imagine the same thing would happen if the snapshot escaped the loop. A snapshot would probably be created of that exact snapshot. And it seems like, unlike Spider-Man, Geno did not have an Uncle Ben and to tell him with great power comes great responsibility. Because as soon as he gets a hand of the 0 Point's power, he basically starts kidnapping random people from random different universes and brings them to the Fortnite universe to basically just trap them in the loop and see if they can escape it. Now, obviously kidnapping people is bad, so a group of 7 characters has decided that they had to stop Geno, and they named themselves the 7. They built suits that allowed them to enter the loop without being affected. And probably a lot of years later, the visitor, one of the 7, came down to the Fortnite Island in a rocket to test the capability of their suits. After confirming that the suits did work, and then after that, visitor rifted back home. But the problem is he forgot to close the rift, which allowed a random cube to spawn on the island. After that, the cube fused with an island and then exploded. And then an iceberg crashed onto the island. This iceberg brought along the Ice King. He basically travels from reality to reality, capturing anything dangerous before it can cause any trouble. The only problem is one of the dangerous creatures he captured escaped and threatened to destroy the Fortnite Island. Meanwhile, the Paradigm, one of the members of the 7, got captured by the Imagine Order. But she was able to convince them to build a mech that can stop this monster. The only problem was, this monster was stronger than she thought. So she ended up having to use the 0 Point's power. After using its power to punch the monster, she finally defeated the monster. The problem is, she didn't put the 0 Point back where she found it when she left. And because of that, the 0 Point started destabilizing. The Foundation, the leader of the 7, was pretty mad, but got satisfied pretty quickly when he found out that the mech landed on the ice moon. And the ice moon is where the Ice King came from. Now all he had to do was stop the 0 point from exploding. And the only way he knew how to stop the 0 point from exploding was creating a black hole and hitting the restart button, basically. After everything was absorbed into a black hole, the 0 point reforged everything into a new Chapter 2 map. Although it wasn't long until someone new came onto the island. This guy was Midas. His goal is also destroying the loop. And eventually, Midas decided to create a device that would try to end the loop by pushing back the storm. And it worked for a little bit. Loopers escaped the loop, and some end up in the Imaginorder's base. Although, the Storm King, the villain of Fortnite Save the World, Fortnite's first game mode, would decide to fight back against Midas's device and flood the storm, basically flooding the island as well. And when the map was finally unflooded, a brand new villain came called Galactus. And when he was defeated, he left the 0 point exposed and destabilizing once again. And while the Imagineer did take action, the most he did was just send Jones, the main character of Fortnite, through a bunch of different realities to gather the best balances to make sure people didn't escape with it. The only problem is the 0 point began to destabilize more and more as Jones was trying to hide those balances. Jones notices and tries to convince the Imagineer to do something. Well, apparently they would just rather let it destabilize and explode than risk losing control of it. So, Jones abandons the Imagineer and joins the Seven. Eventually, Jones summons the Foundation, and after some convincing, he convinces the Foundation to help him stop the 0 point from exploding. And the only way the Foundation knows how to save the 0 point, apart from hitting the restart button, is containing himself and the explosion in a tower of stone. After that, I'm pretty sure the Imagineer arrested Jones. The only problem is, this stone wasn't just any stone, it was chrome. But not just any chrome, this chrome was property of something called the nothing. And this nothing used the spire to talk to a guy named Raz. And what did Raz end up doing? He led an entire alien race to Fortnite. The UFO destroyed the spire as the Foundation ended up in Batman's world. Although the Imagineer did have a plan for these invaders, it turns out these invaders also had a plan for the Imagineer. The Imagineer had the UFO abduct a couple loopers and bombs. And just as the Imagineer thought they won, yes, another cube returns. Although the loopers are able to shut the cube down, Sloan still leaves them on the mothership. The loopers managed to revive the cube, turning it blue and turning it good. Although, they end up realizing that cube and the cube from Chapter 1 are only one of billions of cubes, with one golden cube in the center. The bombs ignite, and the UFO explodes. And the UFO exploding did the exact opposite of what the Imagineer thought would happen. Instead of turning everything back to normal, it just made the problem worse. With the leader of this alien race, the cube community, and the Imagineer at this point basically just gave up. They gave up trying to stop this alien race, the last reality, and started trying to escape instead. So once again, the Seven are tasked with saving reality. And they come up with a plan that will defeat both the Imagined Order and the Last Reality. Just as the Cube Queen unleashes the full power of the Last Reality on the island, the Seven saved Jones, the Foundation revealed that it was actually the Rock, and they flipped the island. And although the Last Reality were defeated for now, the Imagined Order would eventually return for revenge. And just as the Seven thought they won, the Imagined Order waged war. As the Imagined Order started creating a machine that would destroy everyone on the island. Luckily, the Seven found the paradigm and were able to forgive her for nearly dooming the entire reality before leaving the 0 point exposed. They rebuild the mech and start using it to destroy the Collider. And just as the Seven thought they won, the Imagined Order kept fighting back. Jones tried to turn Sloane good, but she was just too desperate. She refused to give up and aimed her tank at the Seven, when all of a sudden, the Mike's arm just crushed her. After Sloane was defeated, the only line of defense was Geno, who was defeated pretty easily, as the Imagined, one of the members of the Seven, and Geno's daughter basically tackled him into the 0 point. And considering it cycles through billions of realities per second, it rips him apart and scatters the atoms across a whole bunch of different realities. But just before Geno died, he left one last warning for the Foundation. As everyone was vibing all night, partying all night long, the 0 point started to send out destruct signals. As while everyone was partying, they were being watched by the Herald. And in Season 4, she covered the entire map in Chrome. Not only that, she used the Chrome to consume all of the Seven, except for one. The Paradigm was able to escape to a reality called Reality 659. The Loopers tried to fight back against the Herald, but eventually they launched a rocket at her, and she caught it. But of course, after sending a lot more rockets, she exploded. But that wasn't the end, because she arrived as a giant chrome monster. Now fully chrome, she fully consumes the reality tree and blows up the entire island. Luckily, the Paradigm prepared for this specific possibility and found a way to reforge a new island in Fortnite Chapter 4. And now at the Fortnite Chapter 3 2-in-1 recap is finished. Now we're finally going on to recapping Chapter 4. This is most of the Fortnite Chapter 4 storyline explained. Although she did manage to reforge the island, she did have to sacrifice herself in order to do that. Here we meet the Ageless, the snapshot that Geno sent to rule his kingdom after he left to go who run the Imagined Order. And basically, not only did it bring along the Zero Fusion, bring along the Ageless and the Oathbound, but also brought along a mysterious Rift Warden who goes by the name Stellan. Stellan was tasked with building a Rift Gate, a bridge between realities. But not by the Ageless. For yes, the Ageless did apparently want a Rift Gate. There's actually a different reason why Stellan was making the Rift Gate. It turns out Stellan was sent to the Oathbound to make a Rift Gate at the order of a shapeless man. He watches over Stellan with a dark purpose. Now this shapeless man could be a lot of different characters, but the two most likely are the Nothing and Geno, as the Nothing is basically just nothingness. And after Geno was defeated, he decided to try to repiece his piece himself back together. Although the 0 point basically tore him to pieces, Geno found out how to put himself back together. And even if the Shapeless Man isn't Geno will probably return to a Fortnite storyline eventually. With the help of the scientist AI named Amy, we end up finding out that the Riftgate actually found out what happened to the Seven after they got consumed by Chrome. And well, let's just say they're not doing the best right now. So Amy builds a robotic body and goes through the Riftgate once it's opened to try to find the Seven. Speaking of which, someone had sabotaged the Riftgate's coordinates, and the Riftgate started destabilizing and exploded. Also, 2 of the crew pack skins for that month defeated the Ageless. I don't know whether or not that's important to the storyline, but it's better to know than not to know. Considering the Ageless and the Oathbound disappeared after this season, it might be a good idea to know. And when the Riftgate explodes, it leaves behind a giant rift in the sky. And the rift brought itself a whole futuristic city. And just before the Loopers get to explore this city, the syndicates who live in the city decide to contact the Loopers for help. You see, they're not doing the best either, as a saboteur has decided to try to sabotage them and start a war between the syndicates. So the Peace Syndicate decide to hire the Loopers to find out who the saboteur is and stop them. Eventually, the Peace Syndicate realizes that the saboteur stole files that are related to the last reality. So the Peace Syndicate tries to unite all the syndicates so that they can stop the saboteur. First they start off the River Guard, which the River Guard requests a meeting with the Fox Clan. And long story short, the Fox Clan and River Guard are arch rivals. Although somehow the Peace Syndicate is able to get them a meeting, which doesn't end in a massive fight. So after that, they go to hire the Lumines. After that, they find out that the saboteur is embedded with the Unseen, the final syndicate and the worst syndicate out of them all. Eventually, they do end up gaining the trust of the Unseen as well, because apparently the saboteur was working behind the Unseen's back. In fact, the saboteur and their friend were both working behind the Unseen's back, working under the commands of a guy named Triarch Nox. Triarch Nox is one of 3 rulers, and he's the ruler of darkness. Although it turns out that the reality tree that the Hell fused to is still on the Fortnite map. And while Triarch Nox is distracting the syndicates with trying to find out who the saboteur was, they failed to notice Serenade, someone who is attempting to revive the Held. Although cracks started appearing on the Fortnite map, as it turns out, dropping the megacity on the Fortnite island and caused it to collapse. And when the island finally collapsed, it revealed a whole jungle. And it turns out Dr. Sloan actually survived being crushed by the mech's arm and was just living in this jungle. And Sloan manages to hire the loop was for something. Also, by the way, it turns out she's done with the Imagine Order and does not work for the Imagine Order anymore. Sloane found out this ancient jungle belonged to an ancient race. And that ancient race, he's disappeared because of an eclipse. And Sloane found out that another eclipse was gonna happen. And when this eclipse finally happened, it brought along a whole new mansion, run by Kale Thorne, who is a vampire with a time machine. So Sloane puts together a gang and uses that gang to steal the time machine. Somehow Sloane managed to regain the trust of Jones as she sends him through the time machine. And he arrives back in Chapter 1. Sloane sent Jones on a mission to Chapter 1, and it's not to change the future, it's to retrieve something. But of course, she retrieved because the time he traveled to was Season 5. Pretty close to Season X, the event where the black hole showed up. So, will he be able to go back to find out how came to get before the black hole shows up? Or will he just go into Chapter 5 he through that black hole again? Only time will tell, I suppose. Anyways, that's most of the Chapter 4 storyline explained, as well as recapped Chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just in case you hadn't seen my Chapter 3, Chapter 2, and Chapter 1 videos. Now you should be all caught up and ready for the Chapter 4 finale event and what lays beyond. See you guys later. Bye.